Hello and good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's well. This evening, I believe this is episode 9. Of our podcast, and this evening everything is about Final Fantasy VII. Pretty much the original one, but we will also be talking a little bit about some new Final Fantasy VII pieces. First and foremost, I will be introducing you to our two guests for this evening. We have Crosis of Crosis Gaming and Tama, who is known as Swiggle Muffin on Twitch. You may have seen those names before. We have the option in channel points where you can put any question in for us. It's only 50 points. So anybody that's just coming in and doesn't have much points, you should have that straight away. And you should be able to chuck any questions towards these two tonight if you have anything Final Fantasy VII related. It should still be 7 related in some respect. But let's introduce everybody. So Crosis, would you please tell us a little about yourself?
I am Crosis.
And your love of Final Fantasy VII?
And cats. It's not good confused. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII, I was 10 when Final Fantasy VII came out. So I kind of grew up playing it, so I played it a million times. I know the game in and out, like, pretty well.
Cool. And Tama, what about yourself?
Hello, I'm Tama. I'm Tama. I'm basically a mod on Crosis' channel, and his very, very good friend. I had played Final Fantasy VII when my brother made me play Final Fantasy VII, and I was, when did they come out? I was about 8 or 9, I think, when it came out, but I didn't play it till like a few years later. But I loved the story. The story got me, and the characters that completely captivated me. Wasn't so much about the game to me. I just loved the story. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story is probably what captured me as well. I just totally didn't expect that out of a game. It was pretty much my first big introduction to Final Fantasy anyway, but like the fact that these sorts of games existed. We'll get into our questions, because actually, Tammy, you kind of just answered that one. Crosis, my first question is, what is it about 7 that makes it one of your top? And I've said one of your top, because I know it isn't your top Final Fantasy. Is that correct?
It's not, actually. I adore 7, but for so much more than what it is. I love it for more what it did for the genre, because it really kept RPGs alive, because RPGs just they weren't great at the time, and they were, but they weren't gaining a lot of traction. They didn't get a lot of spotlight, and 7 just created they boosted the genre so much. Tactics is actually my favorite, but 7 is still really, really, really good. Top 5 for sure.
Do you know what it is that makes it one of your tops?
7,
just
I think
bringing it back. As
I was really fascinated with Sephiroth at the time. Sephiroth was a badass. Like, I wanted to be Sephiroth. I wanted long silver hair. I wanted a giant pointy sword. I mean, that was my password for everything. Actually, it wasn't my password. It was my username. It was Sephiroth108 growing up until I adapted the whole Crosis thing. Yeah.
That's his password. Write that down.
No, it wasn't my password. Don't try that. Hang on, I gotta change it now.
I mean, you did actually also just answer our second question, which was, who is your favorite character? Well, possibly. Our second question is, who is your favorite character and why? So, Crosis, is it Sephiroth?
It is not Sephiroth.
Okay.
It's Yuffie. I adore Yuffie. Her quirky, fun nature. I love that about the game. A lot of games can do the very serious thing, and it's very easy to do that in video games, especially RPGs. But to have a fun, quirky character that really lightens the mood, you don't get that very often, and Yuffie is wonderful for that. Even if people hate the Wutai quests, it's worth it. She should have never been optional. She should have been included automatically.
And she
was
probably
going
will
to
be
be.
now. She probably will be
Oh,
now.
she will be. Yeah.
And Tama, what about yourself? Who's your favorite? And why?
My favorite's Reno. I love Reno. I wish I could give you a more interesting answer other than he's hot, but he's hot. No, I love him. They really made him a bit of, and him and Rude sort of comic relief, especially in the compilation with Advent Children and stuff like that. But in the game as well, he's really sassy and really funny, and I like that. Yes, he does a couple of questionable things. He kills a lot of people. But he's not a bad person, and I'll stand by that. The Turks aren't bad people, and I love Reno for the whole character that he is. I don't like what they've done to him in the remake, but in the compilation, he is perfect. I love him.
Okay, great answer. Plus has just written in chat, what are your most hated Final Fantasy VII name mispronunciations, and how do you know they're wrong and it's not you?
I will answer that with a sound effect.
We hear the sound effect. That's the question.
I don't know. Is
Not hearing
that how
it.
you put it? Your chat is broken.
Oh, I closed my sound alerts. But Sephiroth, yeah. Sephiroth. Yeah.
It's the worst mispronunciation I've ever heard.
It's because I can't be bothered to say Sephiroth.
Well, then you shouldn't be bothered to like FF7.
Oh, that's like me saying if you like the remake, you can't call yourself an FF7 fan.
We are not to that topic yet.
Yeah. Yes, there is still time.
Oh,
okay.
I hate it when people call Aerith, like Aerith. Her name is Aerith, not Eris.
Yes, I mean I say Eris because I read what I had in front of me.
It's the only name in the entire game that I change, because the European version was always Eris, so I always change it back to Aerith. That's the only name I
in the American version as well.
Oh, was it?
Eris.
Oh, was it? Yeah, see, I always change it back, but I don't change any of the other characters' names. I love keeping the names the same.
Is that a question, please? Why use 3 syllables when you can use 2? Touche.
Moving on. I see a couple of you guys in chat have been putting questions through. Natasha, if you could pop that into... You see, Plus should have done this as well, but he's being naughty, and that's because he's a mod, okay? But guys, if you have questions, can you put it through the channel point system? So hit the little platy guy at the bottom, and it should only be 50 points, so you should already have access to chuck it in, and then I'll have the list that I can read through later. So Plus is just naughty, and I just read that as a little bit of a joke. But everybody else, I have got it. When you put it through the system, I will read it out in a bit, just not right now, because we're just going to go through our preset questions first. But thank you very much, guys, for putting in your questions, and please do keep them coming. Crosis, do you feel like the character development in 7 is better than other Final Fantasies? If not, which characters do you feel could have been better fleshed out?
I am so influenced by other spin-offs of the 7 franchise. I do not like Cloud. And he should have been fleshed out so much better. He's so frustrating because he does not have his own personality. There's no substance to him. And I understand he's like mentally breaking, which I really hope in the remake they kind of show that a lot more, because in the original you don't really see how he's mentally breaking unless you have a really good imagination. But he is throughout the whole game. He's just mentally messed up. And I really hope they show that in the remake, because in the original, it just makes him seem very boring and very off-putting. I can't think of any other characters that I think should really be more fleshed out. They did pretty well with a lot of them. I definitely think there's other characters in the Final Fantasy franchise that are much better than some of the 7 characters. It's really hit and miss depending on what character you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Tamo, what do you think it is about Sephiroth that made him such a well-known and well-remembered antagonist, even to this day?
Well, I think the first thing about Sephiroth is his design. His design is amazing. Like Crosa said, with the long silver hair and his giant sword. And, everyone knows who Sephiroth is, even if you don't play Final Fantasy. But I think what really got me liking Sephiroth was Crisis Core. Because in Crisis Core, you kind of see the human side of him. He's, in all intents and purposes, in Crisis Core, he's a nice guy. He has friends. He works his job, and I think he's really a victim of circumstance. You can kind of see him break down because of what's been done to him, and it kind of makes you feel sorry for him a little bit. And I think that's what people remember most of all, that he's got this whole good side to him, and he just snapped. And it's not all his fault, I don't think. It's but Crisis Core definitely made me see Sephiroth in a different light, and I think that's what people will remember.
It's crazy because even today, whenever like a new picture or just anything new about him gets leaked on the internet, everyone still goes absolutely mental over it.
Yeah.
It's so many
Smash.
years, and it just everyone goes crazy over it. You can keep talking if you have more to say. It's okay.
Gonna say the response to him being in Smash was
Yes.
great, because I'm surprised it took them so long actually to put Sephiroth in Smash. But yeah, everyone went nuts, and it's like even people who don't play Final Fantasy were like, "Oh my god, Sephiroth's in Smash!" And
I mean, the trailer was pretty badass.
It was.
It was really bad. I don't even buy DLC for Smash, but I went and bought him as soon as he came out.
Yeah, it's killing Mario. Yeah, everyone got really excited about that, and yeah, he's so cool. And I think another thing about Sephiroth is that is the theme. Everyone knows that music. Everyone knows the One Winged Angel song, and they did a really good job of making things iconic and pinning them to Sephiroth, and it's made people remember him really well.
Agreed. Crosis, the Turks are basically a secret service for Shinra, who do their dirty work for them. Have any other Final Fantasy stories contained a team like this, and did you feel that they were integral to the story?
It's a good question, because I'm trying to run through the Final Fantasies in my mind and trying to think if there's other teams that are like that. And I really can't think of a team that was really like that operated like the Turks did. I mean, the Turks are pretty unique in the Final Fantasy franchise. I mean, there's always been different factions in Final Fantasies, but the Turks aren't really a faction. They're like you said, they're a team. They operate under Shinra, but they're not afraid to disobey Shinra either, But I can't think of any other Final Fantasy that really has a secret service like that. Not that I can think of, really. Maybe I'm just not remembering it, because I feel like there might be one, but
someone in chat might come and pipe up and put you in your place.
Yeah, I was watching chat and I'm like, somebody tell me I'm wrong, because I would like to remember. So, but I don't think so. I think the Turks they're pretty unique to the franchise, honestly. I'm really surprised Square hasn't milked more out of them, because they could really be boosted up as kind of a big part of Final Fantasy.
Well, they made Before Crisis, which was a Japanese mobile game all about the Turks. You played as a Turk, and it was all about the Turks. And that's really the only thing that they've done to highlight the Turks. And they're really, I love the Turks, and I would say I disagree. I think they are a little bit afraid to disobey Shinra, hence why Reno did what he did. He was doing his job at the end of the day. So I think they are a bit afraid to disobey Shinra. They say, if you're a Turk, you don't you can't quit that job because you know too much about Shinra. They say you leave dead, basically. So I would say that the Turks are just doing their job, and they are afraid to disobey Shinra.
Except that Wu Tai scene when they go in there and Elena's like, "Oh, it's them," and Reno and Root are like, "No, we're on break. We're not fighting them
They're
right now."
on holiday. That's not disobeying Shinra. They're on a
That
day
is
off.
directly disobeying Shinra. Shinra found out.
They're on a day off. They're on holiday.
It's starting,
They're on
everybody.
They're not.
Yeah,
They're
it's
not.
beginning already. It's
They're not.
Guys in the
just
chat are
didn't feel like-
saying Crown's Guard and Kingsglaive in Final Fantasy 15, if I can pipe up. That's from Natasha. Ultimate Sea Strife says maybe Cypher, Rajan, and Fujin from 8 working for Adia.
I wouldn't. I agree with the Crown's Guard and Kingsglaive, but that wasn't really implemented in the game. It is in the lore, and it's more in the movie than anything, but not so much the game.
I knew that was from Natasha.
Oh, excuse me.
We'll move on to the next question, which is for Tama. How did you feel about Kate Sith being a puppet controlled by Reeve? Do you remember if it was a shock to you the first time, and did it change how you felt about Kate or Reeve, who controls him?
It was a surprise, actually. I didn't see that coming, but I never really warmed to Kate Sith anyway. But it was a bit of a surprise to see coming. I didn't really have an opinion on. I wasn't surprised it was Reeve because he was like working for Shinra. But what changed my mind about Reeve was Dirge of Cerberus. Again, another spin-off thing. The spin-offs have done a really good job of fleshing out the characters more and making you see them in a different way. And Reeve made up for it in Dirge of Cerberus, I think. But I never, ever liked Kate Sith. Really, he was just annoying. But that did surprise me. Yeah, I was shocked and irked.
The next question is for everybody, and I know that this is where we're going to start a bit of a debate, everyone in chat, be warned. Shinra is just an energy company, whereas Avalanche are eco-terrorists trying to stop Shinra from destroying the planet. Both Avalanche and Shinra make questionable decisions, which destroy many civilians in the process. How do both of you feel about these organizations and the choices that they make? We will start with Croesus.
I think we should start with Tama.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. I mean, everyone gives Shinra a bad rap, don't they? But Avalanche is just as bad. You know, they kill people too. And at the end of the day, I mean, it started out Shinra was just a power company. And the thing that made them bad wasn't the company, it was President Shinra. I think under Rufus, I think it would have been better. And he's trying to correct all the mistakes in Advent Children and in the novellas. If you read the novellas, he's trying to correct everything that Shinra did wrong. And he is working to make it a better, he wants to rebuild Shinra, make it a better company. And that to me is good. That shows growth in his character. And so, yeah, but Avalanche is just as bad as Shinra at the end of the day. Just because they say they're doing it for a noble cause doesn't make it any better. They're still killing people. I don't know. Maybe Croesus will disagree with me, but...
No, I would never. To be okay, so you say Avalanche is just as bad as Shinra, and I get it, but Shinra dropped a plate on a sixth of the city. They killed a few neighborhoods. I mean, they murdered 1,000. Avalanche has probably killed people. Don't get me wrong, but Shinra.
That plate did not kill thousands.
Technically, 1/8 falafel is just written.
Thank you. I was trying to debate whether it was an 8th or a 6th, but thank you.
Plate did not kill thousands of people.
Okay. Well, to be fair, if you're correct and it didn't kill thousands of people, that's only because of the efforts of Avalanche trying to evacuate people.
Excuse me, but Shinra come back. When Meteor is hitting, Shinra send the Turks back, and the Turks help evacuate Midgar. So, that's
Maybe they
helping.
sent them back while they were dropping the plate?
No. When it's at the end, when Meteor is coming to hit, they send the Turks back to help evacuate Midgar to get everybody out
but
when
this isn't
Meteor is coming
versus
to hit.
Sephiroth. This is Avalanche versus Shinra.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Shinra do a good thing there, don't they? That's,
I'm not saying they're completely bad. To be fair, in the reality of things, they are an energy company withdrawing their planet's resources to sustain power. That's what we do now.
Yes.
I mean, it's no different. To be fair, though, our energy companies are not militarized. So it's a little bit different. But at the same time, that's what kind of confuses me about the world of Final Fantasy VII. There is no governing body.
No.
And the governing body is Shinra, but they kind of take it upon themselves to govern. Nobody decided that, hey, Shinra should run stuff. They just had a lot of money, a lot of resources, and said, well, I guess we kind of control things now. I agree with you that President Shinra was the main source of evil there. He was. He was power hungry. He wanted the promised land. To be fair, Rufus also wants the promised land too. But correct me if I'm wrong, did Rufus not fund Avalanche in the first place?
Yes, he did that behind his father's back. The first wave of Avalanche was funded by Rufus Shinra. And that's why you don't see him until President Shinra dies, because he's under house arrest. His daddy put him under house arrest because he'd been naughty. And then Rufus turns out to be funding the WRO in Dirge of Cerberus. So he is trying to rebuild things, and he is trying to. I think mostly what drove Rufus to be like he was is to simply get one up on his dad. I think he didn't like his dad, and I think, President Shinra had kids all over the place. He's got two. There's one in the novella. There's Lazard in the thing. Yeah. So I can't imagine Rufus having a very good relationship with his father, and I think he just wanted to get one up on him. But you see the growth in Rufus, and he is trying to fix things. But yeah, he did fund the first wave of Avalanche. That was a kind of a that was good. Yeah. So
I know a lot of people don't know that, and that's why I said that, because a lot of people don't realize that Avalanche wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for Rufus. Then they end up fighting his company anyways. But that's what he wanted. So
that's exactly what he wanted. He wanted them to go against his dad. He wanted that company, but not probably for the reasons President Shinra did. But yeah, it's funny that Rufus was actually that side.
But my thing is, the game very much paints a portrait of Go Avalanche, and I'm like, they are eco-terrorists. They really are. I mean, and you need to realize that. And I gotta give credit to Cloud, where he goes, I'm not part of your group. That's not me. Like, I'm a mercenary. I do what I need to get by. I'm not joining your group. So, kind of props to him, because they are a terrorist organization, and he kind of didn't want to be labeled as that. So
he kind of fell into it, I think, just due to Sephiroth. That's
because he found out Tifa was with him, and he's like, yeah, I'll fall into that.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to protect Aerith as well, and I think that's mainly what stuck him around. But I mean, Barrett, I've never really liked Barrett, and
Barrett's very aggressive, and right, and him being the leader of Avalanche, kind of, in my opinion, kind of paints them a very bad picture, because he's very aggressive and he leaps before he thinks, and And
the first leader of Avalanche was actually a woman, so it's very much a contrast. Barrett's attitude is very selfish, and he says he's doing this for the right reasons. And
They're killing the planet, Cloud.
can you hear it? Oh God, don't get me started. Why did they change his voice? Anyway, yeah, I think Barrett is probably one of the reasons that Avalanche is probably as bad as they are, because he does things the wrong way, and he makes them just as bad as Shimra at the end of the day.
So the part about Rufus originally funding Avalanche, where exactly is that? Is that a novella or is that
That's in Before Crisis. You find that out in Before Crisis.
As
So
well
that's
as
all about
the female leader of Avalanche, is that also in there?
Yeah, she's in Before Crisis as well. Yeah.
Very interesting.
She was the daughter, I think, of the leader of the Turks at the time. And they, to get away, they fake their own deaths, basically. So they're in hiding somewhere. They're, you think they're dead, but they're not. In fact, all the Turks that you think died in Before Crisis are actually all in hiding. So there's more Turks than just what you see in FF7 and Advent Children. They're all around somewhere. They're just not been called to duty yet.
Like the Jedis. Right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, basically.
Let's move on to the next question. Crosis, how do you feel about the battle mechanics of 7 with materia? Do you find it to be one of the easier methods of the series? And which other Final Fantasy would you compare it to?
They do keep it very, very simple with the materia. But the fun part with the materia is it can be elaborate. There's a lot of pairings that you can make that a lot of casual players who have only played 7 maybe once or twice don't even know that you can make. I wish they had gone more in depth with it, but I love when they get really in depth with mechanics. And one of my greatest appreciations for the Final Fantasy franchise, why I love the Final Fantasy franchise so much, is they're always introducing new systems when a new Final Fantasy comes out. And I love that about them because it's always something to look forward to. And as much as I love the stories in the Final Fantasy games, the game mechanics is what keeps me coming back and playing and playing and playing. What I would compare it to, the materia system, I would have to say a lot of the earlier Final Fantasies where you buy and equip magic, I feel like materia was really derived from that, to where it was just hey, I'm going to buy this spell from a shop and now I know the spell. Materia is pretty much the same thing, and it's kind of derived from that. I mean, it's except materia can be swapped. I mean, it's just a rock. I mean, that's all it really is in the game. The later Final Fantasies, I can't say that a whole lot of them had that same system in place. Yeah, not that I can think of. No, because they were all kind of learned. I mean, none of them really did that. The closest one is 15, and that was a drawing magic out of a spot and putting it in a bottle, basically. But that's really reaching to compare that to materia. Materia is pretty unique.
Yeah, I always want to talk about the remake, but we're not talking about the remake, guys, tonight, because Crosis is not playing the remakes. So
not till it comes out on PC.
Yeah, so we're not going to be discussing those elements, but chat are welcome to mention those elements as much as they want to. You go crazy.
As long as it's not spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. Tama, the graphics for 7 was a huge step up from the top-down view of the previous Final Fantasies. Do you think that this could be a big part of why it's one of the most loved and well-remembered? Or are there other elements that make it great that could be why it's well received?
Well, I think it did look good. I mean, I didn't play any of the earlier ones, but I've seen Crosis play some of them, so I know what they look like in relation to FF7. It's definitely an improvement. And I think having the cutscenes in FF7 as well was really a good way to say, hey, look what we're doing now. But when you then compare it to FF8 that came out, they're like worlds apart. It's very, very different. But at the time, it looked really good, and it looked like Square Enix were actually making progress onto better things, which they did with FF8. But and the story wasn't as good in FF8. But yeah, it did. It looked a lot better than the previous games, but the cutscenes, I really liked the cutscenes, and I mean, just seeing Rufus get attacked by a weapon, and the cutscenes were really, really good. I mean, they're not graphically brilliant, but when you played them at the time, they were really impressive, and it's definitely a big improvement on what came before it.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite, always when I look at it now, well, even when I looked at it back then, it's always surprised me how just from a couple of years difference, we went from 7 to 8 graphics.
I was thinking that exact thing.
It's so weird.
7's cutscenes, if you compare them to 8's, they're miles apart.
Yeah.
7's is really cheesy. They were great when they came out. I mean, you look at them, you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you went to 8, and you get to the cutscene, for example, the battle against Galbadia in 8, when the two gardens are battling each other.
Yeah.
And there's people fighting in the background. And even the opening cutscene, Cypher versus Squall, was mind-blowing. And it's the same system. It's the same exact system. And the graphics could not be further apart. And I think it was only a year. I think it was 98 when 8 came out.
Yeah, that's a big leap in a year.
It really was, yeah.
I'm assuming that they were probably both being made around the same time by totally different people.
Teams, yeah.
Just so that they could actually be made, because those, even like 9 came only a couple of years after that. I mean, all of them, they only came a couple of years separate from each other, and it's just so crazy how they managed to turn those around so quickly.
Those 3 are so different from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't be more different from each other. Yeah.
It's a very fun time of Final Fantasy releases. Okay, we're going on to, what is your favorite side quest or mini game? For example, the snowboarding or the Crash Galnica. I always say that wrong. Start with Croesus.
Side quest. You're gonna hate me, but I love the Wu-Tai side quests.
Of course.
In fact, everyone I watch play Final Fantasy VII, I make them go and do it, whether they're doing a speed run or not. Mini games. I actually love the submarine mini game. People hate it, but I wish it was bigger. I wish they expanded upon it. I wish they had done more with it, because it was really fun. And as long as you get the mechanics down, you can complete that part of the story in like 30 seconds. I mean, it takes like no time at all.
So do you go into Wonder Square then? Do you go into Golden Saucer and play that submarine, or do you just play it the one time that you have to?
Because it's completely useless to play in Golden Saucer. There's much better ways to obtain battle points, and I'm more about efficiency than I am fun.
Okay.
Sounds incredibly boring to me, but all right. Next question.
Tama, what about yourself? What's your favorite side quest or mini game?
I did love the chocobo breeding, and the chocobo racing as well. I loved snowboarding for the simple thing that I think, did Sephiroth get down here the same way? Can you imagine Sephiroth just snowboarding down that mountain? And I did love that. I thought the ones I didn't like the one like the tower defense one, and I didn't like where you get Phoenix. I didn't like that one. But I did love the snowboarding and anything with the chocobos. The chocobos were great.
Yeah. See, that's how I was introduced to Final Fantasy VII. It was at my friend's house who had an older brother, and he'd been playing it all. I mean, I think he'd finished it, and he was just playing the snowboarding in Golden Saucer on repeat, just trying to get the highest score. And then he just let us two play it with him, and we were all trying to beat each other's scores, and that was how I was first introduced to the game. I didn't know that it was a whole big game. I thought that this was the game.
I just thought it was a
and I was just snowboarding on repeat, and then like got shown the rest of it and just realized, oh my god, that's a tiny part of a huge game. It's great. But I also really hate the Fort Condor part. That's when I was doing the playthrough start to finish, it really held me back because I obviously didn't have enough money to be buying enough things, and it just took so long, and it always just holds me up in my playthrough, and I don't find it very fun. Wish I could skip it every time.
I feel like you have to be some kind of masochist to enjoy the snowboard game.
Why? I love the snowboard game.
It's terrible.
No, I like the snowboarding because, like, the snowboarding in the when you snowboard in the main game, that's funny as well. But I like that, and Mog's house at the Golden Sorcerer is brilliant. I love Mog's house.
Yeah,
it's so dumb that it's amazing. I have to agree with you on that. I actually I didn't even consider the Chocobo racing and all the breeding, and that is an amazing part of the game. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna be a little upset if I don't get to snowboard as Sephiroth in the remake.
Oh, so, really?
Okay. If they don't introduce being able to snowboard as Sephiroth, or at least show a cutscene or something of them doing
it. It would be so cool, wouldn't it? I want to see Sephiroth snowboard down a hill. Great.
Right.
Crisis Core Sephiroth would have done it.
Zessel's written in chat, best side quest is getting the best clothes for Cloud. There is so many when you think about it. This game has so many. I mean, I know a lot of Final Fantasies had a lot of little mini games and side quests as well, but the more modern Final Fantasies are seemingly more side quest and not even that kind of interesting side quest, more of like, go and find this item that's hidden 12 times in this map and that like just collect it. It's not things like what you get in these older Final Fantasies.
Yeah, a lot of the newer ones tend to have like a specific game in them, like a card game or something like that. Not so much a mini game, and sometimes they can be fun, but then sometimes they're dull and you just don't want to play them.
So carrying on with the Gold Sorcerer conversation, actually, the Gold Sorcerer is a giant theme park that once fully opened, you gain lots of extra content from. Do you feel like all the areas within the original game are likely to be fully recreated in the remake, and would you even want them to? That's to Tama.
Well, I think when you look at what they've done with Wall Market and Midgar and the Shinra HQ, I think they're definitely going to put a lot of effort into these areas that have so much going for them, like the mini games. I think they'll work on the mini games. I still think they'll put them in there. But yeah, if you look at the elaboration that they've done to places like Wall Market, I think they're definitely going to take that over into the second part and make the Gold Saucer feel more like a theme park. I think it's going to feel more exciting to go there. I think definitely. Yeah. I would want them to do that in the remake. I think they've got to do something good with it. Well,
I think a lot of people are looking forward to that part to be released. It'll create a big bit of hype. I'm guessing when they actually, whichever part they decide to release it in, I bet they do a huge amount of publicity for that part, so that everybody's super hyped for the release and know kind of what they're getting or how much they're getting, because it's just one of those things that people have always really talked about and played a lot of. And
they did that with the whole, the Honeybee Inn thing. There was a lot of trailers about that, dressing Cloud as a woman. There was a huge hype around that because that was one of the things that everybody loved in the original game, and they made it into a really big thing. And so I think, they're definitely going to put more of that effort into the rest of the game.
Agreed. Now we're going on to talk about Wutai. Wutai is an island to the far west of the map that is 100% optional. as Croesus has mentioned before, he is a big fan and insists that everybody he sees playing the game always goes to Wutai. Tamo, why do you think they had this as an optional thing? Do you ever miss it out on your playthroughs?
No, I didn't miss Wutai out. I went to Wutai. I wanted to try like everything. And I liked Yuffie. So I wanted to, and Wutai is actually an important place to the story. You know, it's where the first war happened, so it's actually kind of interesting to go there and see what's happened since their war with Shinra. So yeah, I didn't miss it out, and I think it probably is important that people go there. I mean, even though it's only a fun little thing, it's still quite an important optional place to go. And the whole thing with Yuffie is quite funny as well, and you get to see the Turks there, so yeah. I'll go. so I'm there. Don't shaking your head at me.
My next question is for both of you. We'll start with Croesus. Who is in your final party lineup and why?
Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie.
What was that? Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You want to go into that further?
They have the best limit breaks. Also, if I decide to ever go down the morphine line, Yuffie has the Conformer, which does full 100% damage while using the ability Morph. So it makes morphing incredibly easy. So if you ever want to farm sources, which I've actually never done because I think it's a huge waste of time, it's very easy with her. Also, ribbons in the Northern Crater. Super easy with Yuffie. Yuffie's awesome. And Tifa, honestly, she has the best limit break. If you want to steal with her, she's the best person to do it with because of her equipment. And yeah, she's gonna deal out the most damage as well. See, I'm more about efficiency than I am. I would use Vincent. I love Vincent. I love his character development, but he's such a trash party member. His limits completely take him off your grid. You can't control him. He's completely useless. So as much as I love the character, he's no good to use.
It's a shame. I always collect every character, and I always want to big up Vincent, and I collect all of his weapons that I find, and then I never use him in any important fights. It's just
he's so bad. His limit break it kills it.
And Dupe says in chat, Vincent has pretty trash stats too. Yeah. Tama, what about yourself?
He's answered my question for me. Yeah,
the same
was Cloud,
lineup.
Tifa, Yuffie, and basically, I used Yuffie to farm ribbons, to get ribbons. Even by that point, you shouldn't really need them a lot, but the morph is really good, and yeah, I love Tifa's limit break. She kicks ass, and I like the idea of having 2 women in my party and just kicking ass. I think that's good. I think it is a shame about Vincent because I probably would have had him in my party as well had he have been better. But I think they kind of realized what a good character they had with Vincent and that they'd ruined him a little bit and then gave him Dirge of Cerberus, which, wasn't a brilliant game, but it was great for Vincent's character and it was great for his story. So yeah, but that's my final lineup. I've got the same one as Croesus.
Natasha just agreed with you as well. Vincent redeems himself in Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, they made it.
Do either of you use the Power Soul with Tifa? No. Just side question there.
Power Soul.
That's the one where you have to keep her really low HP and she kicks ass.
No.
It's too hard.
I'm very against game mechanics that are like that. Okay. You find that on a lot of video games where it encourages you to almost be dead. And I don't feel like you should build yourself around. You shouldn't reward yourself for losing. And if you're building yourself up for being low on health, it takes no effort at all for the enemy to kill you. It's too big of a gamble for a little bit more power. No, it's not worth it. It's a useless item. It really is.
No, I didn't use it.
I mean, I obviously used it because I knew I was going to be underleveled all the time. I have a cat that wants to jump up on me. I want to be underleveled all the time, or I am underleveled because I never grind stuff. And then, yeah, so she's really useful for me for those types of playthroughs. Crosis, do you take on the extra weapon bosses, and how do you go about defeating them?
I have a couple times. I think I've beaten Ruby once, and I've beaten Emerald a few times. Emerald's definitely the easier of the two. As far as getting ready to fight them, they're pretty. I just Chocobo Farming is like I do it in every playthrough, so I have access to all the materia, and then I just grind that out in the Northern Crater with the magic pots that give you a ridiculous amount of AP to boost all your materia, max everything out. Everybody gets a mime. You just mime Knights of the Round like crazy, or you mime a limit break, and then there's a trick with Ruby Weapon where you go into the battle with only one party member. The other two are already dead. And you just use Cloud and you mime Omni Slash until it dies. A terrible, sandy death.
Okay, cool. So that's your way of handling it. Because I think the way I did that, you have to start with it with two party members dead because of its opening, whatever it does towards at the start, and to keep you going.
Quicksand attack.
Yeah, and then I think I tend to bring them alive, and then I just make them all mime somebody. But I didn't realize that there was just the Omni Slash you could have done. Probably because I never have Omni Slash when I play through because I'm so lower leveled. Next question's actually I've got a few questions for Crosis in a line. How rude of me. Do you can always say your part as well, Tama. Don't hesitate. Do you believe any elements of 7 have influenced subsequent Final Fantasies? Now, I'd probably focus more on the mainline Final Fantasies in that question rather than the extras.
I think any elements that have influenced. I don't know. I would have to say their item system, the way they equip their gear, has been seen in further Final Fantasies where it's just 2 items. It's an armor and it's a weapon. And they don't go, well, you have pants and you have a top armor and you have a bracelet and you have rings. They don't really tend to do that. And 7 has kind of kept that going. Now, to be fair, that's not really derived from 7. That's also derived from earlier games. But I don't know. Square really tends to switch up their systems as they go, because I do think Square is very keep it unique, keep it different. This is not the last Final Fantasy. Let's do different, which doesn't always pan out. I mean, I don't know anybody who's played Final Fantasy 13 and says that they like the Crystarium system. That system absolutely killed the game for me, because I love the game mechanics of Final Fantasy games, and 13's mechanic just murdered that game for me. I'm trying to think if there's any other systems or elements that really influenced it.
Well, I can say that Zessel has written in chat, emo depressed boys have been seen in other Final Fantasies.
I feel like that, but that didn't start with 7 either.
No.
I mean, you've got Shadow. You've got who else have you got? You've got Kane. I mean, it might have been more fleshed out and you could see it more clearly in the further Final Fantasies. But I mean, that's kind of always been a thing. And I think that might be a Japanese influence thing. I don't think that was really that's not a worldwide culture thing. I mean, it is now, but before, when it was starting out, that was very common to put a gloomy character in a RPG. So
Dupe says Cloud Lightning is quite an influence, or as in Cloud is quite an influence for Lightning.
I could see that. Yeah, ex-soldier. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. See, I never finished 13 either, because I tried. I've gone back to it like 13 times, and I had never finished it. And I like Lightning too, but she's kind of she's very a not interested character. Yeah.
Square have always been good at switching things up. Leveling wise, like you've got the job system, and that's FF12. You've got the Saphir grid in FF10, which everybody raves about. That's my brother's favorite thing, the Saphir grid in FF10, and he likes that a lot better than the system in FF7. So they are good at switching things up and making every Final Fantasy different, and they throw in a lot of stuff like that.
Sometimes they replace voice actors just to switch things up.
I tell you what, right? Yeah, but that's not them. That's the influence
That's
that
what
they
we
had
call
from.
poking the bear.
No, that is
What
they
is
had
this
too much
relation to you
influence
two?
from Sony.
What's
They had too much
happened?
influence from Sony. That's what happened with the remake. They've let Sony take control of that, and it's all gone to.
So what? As in, did you want the voices that were in the films in the remake? Right.
Yes, because they were told that they were going to do it, and then they were
Oh.
fired. So Sony had way too much influence with what happened there. But I mean, they were told that they were originally going to be in the remake, and then they did Square Enix released a trailer that had completely different voices in it, and that was the first time that the other voice actors knew that they weren't going to be in the remake. So that was nice.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't understand why they've done it. I don't rate the new voice cast. I think they've made some questionable decisions, especially with Sephiroth. You can't change such a legendary character like that to such an extreme, because everyone loves Sephiroth and everyone knows him how he was, and they've had the same voices in everything they've done for about 17 years, I think it was. So changing the voice cast just seemed really, really pointless, and I think Square Enix have let people influence them way too much in that decision. And a few more other decisions that they've made. And Tetsuya Nomura has left the remake making thing now. He's left. He's moving on to other stuff, and I think
Is he anything to do with 16?
I'm not sure actually. I'm not
sure.
I'm trying not to look too much into 16, because if I do want to play it, I don't want to look at spoilers and stuff.
I was just wondering if that might be the reason that he's had to step away from one if he's doing the other.
I think possibly a reason that he's had to step away from the remake is probably because he's not getting as much input as he usually does, because there's several different directors. Yeah, I can see you, but we've had this discussion, but I don't think he would walk away like willingly from this, and but it's interesting that he has, but I think he probably is working on 16, and that's probably the main reason.
Natasha's saying, I don't think he is for 16. Yeah, this is the worry, is where these big names are disappearing to. Are they retiring, or are they being pushed?
They're being shoved out. They are being shoved out.
Roses, your thoughts?
Would you like to input? He's done with me. Look.
The internet takes special liberties and decides things for themselves. They decide what the truth is. But we don't know. All we know is what they have told us and what they have said. But then you get people on the internet and they get these conspiracy theories because they want to see something one way and not how it actually is. I'm not going to sit here and say how it actually is, because I don't know. But I do know what he has said in interviews, and he has said that he feels that it is in capable hands. And he walked out of his own volition, as far as we know. Now, if the truth is he was pushed out, we will never know. But to sit here and make claims that they were just creates a rise in everybody, and then creates a flame war between people. And we really shouldn't do that, because we don't know. You just want Square Enix to be the bad guy because they did something you didn't like.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
No. When you said
connecting the
yeah,
dots.
you should have stopped it there. You shouldn't have continued with but.
No, there are a lot of connecting the dots between Sony and Square Enix and the influence that they've had on it. And but yeah, okay, fine. Some of it is speculation. We won't know, but there are facts that we do know that people won't take into account because on the same token, it's God forbid you say anything bad about Square Enix, and the remake because it's FF7. God forbid you say anything bad about it. You say anything bad about the remake, you get a lot of crap for it online. Because people just don't want to say anything bad about FF7. But it's even if people don't like that game, there's a lot of people that won't admit that they don't like that game. But yeah, Square have made some questionable decisions when it comes to the remake. Yes, they did something I didn't like, but that doesn't mean that I hate them. I don't hate them, but I just think that they've let themselves be influenced too much by outside parties, and that they should have stuck with what they originally wanted. And the remake that we have is not the remake that a lot of people expected. It's not the remake that a lot of people wanted, and it's probably going to be a very good game for people who haven't played the original game and are going into it with a completely fresh mind. From what I hear, they've twisted the story a little bit. I don't want to say too much because I know that Chris is going to play it. So it's probably going to be better for the next generation of gamers coming up that are having the PS5 and are going into it with a completely fresh mind, because the rest of it, I think, is going to be on PS5. They've already said that the DLC is not being released for PS4. So it's for the next generation of gamers who haven't played the original that really should.
Yep, we'll get to that question. So where were we in the grand scheme of questions?
We completely lost track.
Other games that fit into Seven's universe.
Yeah, is that the one we're asking you now, Crosis? What are the other games that fit into Seven's universe, and which ones you suggest people go on to play? So, for example, you can tell me exactly what you think I should be playing, because what I have played is Dirge of Cerberus, but I don't remember any of it. What else is there?
You have to play Crisis Core. Crisis Core, it changes your view on the entire game. It changes everything. Crisis Core is why I don't like Cloud anymore, because of Zack. You get such an in-depth look at Zack, and he's goofy and he's foolish, but he's strong and he wants to do what's right, and he wants to do right by good people, and he is literally gunned down. And one of his last lines is, let me try and say it verbatim, but he says, "Have I become a hero?" or something like along those lines. And it's terrible because it's coming. You know Zack gets gunned down. And then the ending,
a hero.
Yeah, have I become a hero or something like that. It's terrible, but it's amazing. Zack is the hero. Cloud is go away.
Yeah.
He's so annoying because he's just he's not his own person. And I understand he's supposed to be the living legacy of Zack, but and I'll be honest with you, it's kind of shoddy writing on Square's part. It's kind of shoddy writing that Zack and Cloud didn't even really know each other all that well. They really didn't. And all of a sudden, well, I want you to be my living legacy. Like, we've only met like 3 times. Like, it's really shoddy writing, but I can overlook it. You have to play Crisis Core. You really do. There's a lot in there. It's voice acted. You get to know a lot more about Sang from the Turks. You get to know a lot more about, you see a soft side of Sephiroth without it.
Yeah.
him being very direct about it. He's still very stern and like, this is our job. But he's like, well, I'm going to go over here and let you do whatever you want. You get to see Genesis. A lot of people love Genesis. I love that I get to hate him. We'll just put it that way. Yeah, there's so much background story. And you know what? After having played and knowing so much about 7 outside of the original game, Square really has done 7 justice by building up a universe, because 7 leaves it very stale, and then those other games really add so much depth and substance to the story. They really do.
Yeah.
The only problem is if you try to play Crisis Core, the mechanics are rough. They're really rough. It's an old game, and honestly, they really just didn't do a good job with the game mechanics. It's so clunky, and you really have to kind of push yourself through it. And if you can grind, just so the rest of the game is much easier, because the story is what makes it worth playing.
Yeah.
It's just the gameplay is kind of meh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if I hear modulating phase one more time, that's one of the
You
things
played
that
it
is
on. You played it on hard on your first playthrough as
I
well.
did.
didn't you?
There are 2 difficulties, I believe, that you can select from: normal and hard when you start it. And I chose to start the game on hard. Instant regret, but I actually managed to get through it. So
Yeah.
So what console was that one released on?
PSP.
Ah,
Yeah, so it's emulated now. The worst thing about Crisis Core is the fact that you know right from the beginning that Zack doesn't make it. And it's annoying because they make you love this guy so much, and you know what's coming. And yeah, it's horrendous when you get to the end. Even though you know it's coming, I bawled my eyes out at that. I really did.
I didn't cry at all.
Yeah, you did. It's on. It's on screen. There's video evidence.
We have evidence.
You have no
of that.
proof.
Yeah, I do. Get the channel up. Hey guys, I'll link you the video.
So we've got Crisis Core on PSP. We had Dirge of Cerberus on PlayStation 2, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What else is there in the? Because it's a universe collection now, isn't it? Don't they call it the Final Fantasy VII
compilation.
universe?
Well, you've got Advent Children as the movie, which is you want to do yourself any justice, go and watch the complete edition, because it connects a lot of stuff. Then you've got Before Crisis, which was for mobile in Japan, and
it was never ever released outside of Japan. So,
which is too bad, because there's a lot of backstory there.
Yeah,
why do you think they don't understand?
I do not understand. They could have made so much money for releasing it in North America and Europe, and I do not understand why they only released it in Japan. It seems mad, since now they are releasing mobile games for the rest of the world. But I was so annoyed that Before Crisis didn't come out, because it's about the Turks, and I was so mad. But that's a really good story as well. Yeah. That has lots of little stories, because it's lots of missions, because it's a mobile game. Lots of different missions. That's good. And yeah, Dirge Cerberus. And then there's others coming
has
out.
written, because it's AC, BC, CC, and DC, of course. And he's written, I think it was because of our cellular infrastructure. They have vastly superior cellular infrastructure than we do.
Yeah. And there's lots of other things. There's the novellas that are really, really good. You know, there's all sorts of things that they've really, really, you could say, milked Final Fantasy VII, but they've done a good job of it. You know, they've not
continue to
ruined
milk.
I mean,
to milk it.
When any company keeps a series going for as long as they do, it is milking. But if the fans eat it up, why not provide to them? I mean, if I open a business, I'm in the business to make money. I'm going to do what I need to do to make money. Like, that's why businesses go into business. And it just strikes a nerve a little bit, because there's so many gamers who give so many companies a bad rap. And they're like, oh, they're just in it for the money. And I'm like, Well, yeah, duh. Like, of course they
That's a
are. Like, that's why they went into business in the first place. Like, they're not going to call you next week and go, "Well, how do you feel about this? Let's make a game for you."
But they should, though.
It's just,
In
yeah,
respect that they should listen to their fans, and they should be,
they should.
There's that as well. There's a compromise,
But they're also running a company, and they have to weigh
Hmm.
numbers and decide whether or not one direction is better to go than the other. I mean, yes, for example, the voice actors. They did those voice actors wrong. Should they have done that? Absolutely not. But at the same time, they felt, or somebody felt,
So
that it was better to go in a different direction. Now, whether they're wrong or not, it's, who cares? I mean, that's
do.
the direction.
Well, lots of people do.
I understand because that's what a lot of people wanted, but at the same time, it's done. I mean, and you have to respect their decision as a company to choose to go in a different direction,
I
and
think they were
hope they don't.
forced to go in a different direction, but oh well.
Just to go back on that, actually, with the changing of the
Mhm.
voices, don't you, Tammy? You've seen what they look like because Croesus has obviously hidden himself away from it. But in the remake, you've seen what the characters look like. Do you feel like they've changed the facial structures a little bit to look more like the real life actors? Although
Not
they
really.
can't have at the same time, can they? Thinking about it,
No,
I just feel
I
like
don't
Barrett
think-
looks a lot like the voice of Barrett.
He looks more. No, he looks less like the guy than Bo Billingsley, who originally played him. Actually, he looks very different. I don't think they've so much changed them to fit the actors because, like you said, they already had that character developed. Graphically, they've made them look very, very good. They look amazing. I personally, I don't like what they've done to Reno, but I don't like that they've changed his voice actor as well because Quentin Flynn did such a good job at voicing Reno. But I don't think they've changed the characters to fit the actors so much because they were already developed. But the characters that they've got, I can't take that away from Square. Graphically, the game looks amazing. It really does. And the characters look great. Yuffie looks amazing. I can't wait to see that DLC. But no, I don't think they've changed the characters themselves to fit the new actors because actually the guy who plays Barrett now looks less like the other guy that played him. So, but yeah, they I don't understand why they changed them. I think they were forced to, but well,
we won't
done.
ever get a response for that one. Okay, now actually going back to the mobile game conversation we were having, how do you feel, this is for both of you, how do you feel about the new mobile games that they're releasing and the fact that they're creating DLCs for the remake part 1, as in the Yuffie one you just mentioned?
Go on, Croesus.
I haven't really. I know about them, but I haven't really watched anything. I saw a little clip of the basic remaster of 7, and I'm super excited to play it. Like, I am going to love it.
Yeah.
The choice to go mobile is an interesting debate. Mobile, it's widely available. People are going to spend money on it. Is it the best platform to release on? Probably not, but mobile is going to be your widest market and most available market. Everybody has a phone. Not everybody has a Switch. Not everybody has an Xbox. Not everybody has a PlayStation. And mobile is probably a lot easier to develop on too. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. But I'm down for it. I'm excited. I think them re-releasing remasters for mobile, I'll put it on my phone. I don't care. And then I'll hack my Switch and get an Android emulator on it and play it on my Switch too. Like,
Nintendo will not be happy.
Yeah, they'll be all right.
Nintendo don't like that. No, I'm looking forward to Ever Crisis. I think that's probably the remake that we should have got. I wish it was coming out on the Switch. I wish they had forgot mobile. A lot of people don't care about mobile gaming. I think it would have been a lot more successful on the Switch. But like Croesus said, it's a huge, huge market. Everyone has a mobile phone. And lots of people will download it and play it. But I just wish it was coming out on the Switch because I think it would work really well on the Switch. Because the FF7 does. I played FF7 on the Switch. And I think due to its age, it makes a really good handheld game.
I think it'll get a release on the Switch.
Yeah, I really hope it does.
It might not be it might not be announced now, but I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition was initially released on Android, and I don't believe it was initially released on Switch, and then they brought it to the Switch.
Yeah,
So,
I think it only came out mobile.
Yeah, I might be wrong about that, but I think that's how the events went down for the Pocket Edition. And these are Pocket Editions of remasters. I mean, that's what they are. So to see them come to Switch, I could totally see that.
Yeah. I hope they do.
How do you feel about the fact that they are creating these extras and sort of, do you feel they might almost be delaying the part 2 from making this Yuffie basically DLC? Do you feel like they should just be focusing on part 2 rather than doing all these extras, or are you happy with this money grab that they're clearly jumping on?
I think it is a little bit of a distraction, a little bit of please hold, but they are actively working on part 2, and I think this to me is more exciting than whatever they could bring out with the remake.
Video game companies are very well known for running multiple departments and having multiple teams working on multiple projects. For example, one of my favorite franchises is Diablo. Right now, you're looking at Diablo Immortal coming out. You're looking at the Diablo 2 remake coming out, or remaster. You're looking at Diablo 4 coming out. But they all have separate teams. Now, the only concern with that is the consistency with quality from game to game, because you have different teams working on things. Not one person can't oversee all of them. They can try, but you're gonna notice differences between them. So I'm sure that with all these Final Fantasy VII things coming out at one time, I'm sure they've got different teams working on different things. I can't imagine they're pulling the part 2 of the remakes team away to work on remaster Android stuff, or Android iOS stuff, or the Yuffie DLC. I'm sure that they have separate teams for that. So I don't think that's going to affect anything, but it could. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
it's
I was
probably
wondering
just a little distraction.
I was wondering because things like there's the writing aspect. If someone's writing the Yuffie stuff and then not writing, or there's a separate person writing the part 2, which part 2 is obviously that should take precedence of the writing. So does that mean that the Yuffie stuff's going to be a bit not following our usual Final Fantasy lines? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that has happened with other games companies. Like you've had, it's happened sometimes with Assassin's Creed, which is another franchise that I'm hugely into, where you've had another team make the DLC completely blind to the actual game. Right. And yeah, I see what you mean. Sometimes it doesn't really work, and you can tell that they don't match. What are you grinning? I can see you grinning.
I'm grinning because of what Duke just said.
Yeah, I know. The DLC should be called Final Fantasy VII Remake Yuffie Stuff.
Yuffie Stuff. I love it. I love that title, and I'm going to be disappointed if it does not come out like that.
When Croesus streams the DLC for Yuffie, it's going to be called Yuffie Stuff now.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Well done, Duke.
Okay,
That's my next stream
so
title.
we're getting into our last couple questions, guys. Anyone in chat, I know you've been throwing those questions in, and we will start going through those very shortly. If you have any more questions, please chuck them in with the channel points. It's only 50 points, so you should have enough points to throw a bunch of them at us if you want to. But yeah, now is your chance to get some more questions in before we get round to all of the chat questions. Tama, did you ever want a remake or a remaster of 7? How do you feel about how do you feel about the way that they're going with the remake that we've gone?
Okay, a remaster would have been amazing. Like with the updated graphics, and I'll admit I'm the type of person that wanted it, word for word, step for step, exactly the same. But I wanted it like updated, like Advent Children style.
Okay.
And I think I would have accepted that the fact that they've got to change the battle system, because you couldn't have had the battle system that FF7 has now. So I would have accepted that they've got to remake a few things. But I don't like the way they've gone with the remake. I don't like the twisting of the story, the twisting of the characters. I know they're going down a complete route of it's an alternate universe, blah, 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 whatever. But it's not a remake. To me, it's a reimagine. And it's been marketed wrong from the beginning, because they've promised a remake, and that's not what people have been given. And I think that's what's upset some people, including myself. I think we feel a little bit cheated. If they'd have marketed it as, hey, this is a reimagine, this is a completely new look at FF7, then it would have been okay. But they haven't. They've promised people a remake, and that's not what people have got. But a remaster, like they did with was it FF8? They did a remaster of that, and that looked really good. But yeah, I basically wanted FF7 Advent Children style. That's what I wanted. So yeah, I'm not too happy with what they've done with the remake. I think they've focused more on future gamers rather than die-hard fans. And that's disappointing, very disappointing.
Jupe has said in chat, I don't see why they couldn't have gone with the same gameplay mechanics. I would have loved it if it was a turn-based game again instead of the way the series has gone since Final Fantasy X. And Zessel is agreeing and says, Dragon Quest XI has proven that people still really care and want turn-based. I mean, I agree that ever since Final Fantasy VII, ever since I finished it in the 90s, I wanted a remaster of the original because, as we said earlier in the podcast, 8 came out just a couple of years later and looked completely different graphics-wise. And that just showed straight away that you could update that 7 original game to look better and have just the sizing of the characters just to be right in the different rooms and places that they were in. And so I always, all of these years, like 20 years, I was there going, give me a remaster all over the internet. Like, just give me a remaster. I just want a remaster with updated graphics. And we didn't get that. And as we've both, I think we've all agreed really, is I kind of feel like what they have done and are doing with the franchise in general is modernizing it, which is understandable because it's a very old franchise now, but they are moving away from the nice turn-based system that I enjoy into a more action game where you have to think quick on your feet with all of your controller buttons. And so that's where, for me, it disappointed me a little bit in the way that it's gone. And I think it's aiming for a younger audience, a new audience, as you said, an audience of people that haven't played the original, come into it brand new, and they're used to these types of fighting systems as opposed to the ones that we've been playing for years. I'm just going to read a bit of chat because there's a bit of chat going on about this.
I forgot I don't have chat up, actually. That's why I couldn't see what he was saying. I don't have pop-out chat up.
That's too bad. There's some pretty funny things being said.
Kale said,
Damn.
I've still yet to play Remake, but what I've heard is they've completely ruined such wonderful moments, and the new people to the series won't get those story beats the way they were intended. Pristine says, sadly, a lot of that diehard fans will be left behind when it comes to big business. Yes, if they saw 8 as a failure, they'll definitely throw that idea to the side. And Plus wrote, but people be dumb now. Okay, Plus.
Blues always add such rich context.
I think they couldn't have stuck with the same. It slows down the game, and that's not what that's what we wanted, but it's not what gamers want now. They want action. They don't want to sit and press, pick and choose off a menu. They want to fight, and it's a shame, but they've catered towards those kind of people now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though, isn't it? Because thinking about it now, the expanse of age that people play games, it used to just be seen as a certain group of people that would really play games, and now you've got, because games have been going for so many years at this point, computer games, you've actually got the older generation that first had them when they were first coming out still playing games, and you've got the youth of today still playing games, and so you're always going to have older generation that want those turn-based games and would still be willing to play those turn-based games.
Yeah.
But the younger ones, there's a small amount that would definitely still be interested in those types of games. But yeah, I feel like they're more catering for the youth nowadays. They're more focusing on the youth as being their audience. They're really aiming at their younger audience now, and not necessarily considering that their franchise has been going on for like 30 years. They could still have people from 30 years ago. There's like 60-year-olds still playing Final Fantasy right now. It would like that. But never mind, it's a money thing. You've got to make sure you're catering for the right audience to get the right amount of people to be buying those games, I guess.
I hate to play devil's advocate, but I don't think they're wrong. I get it. I mean, there are a lot of people who will enjoy turn-based games. I still play turn-based games. I love them. But it's not current. No. It's not with the times.
Exactly.
And they have to cater to a younger audience, because that younger audience is going to be buying games longer than we will.
Because we'll be dead.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say it, but yes, we will be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
I'm going to be 87 in the hospital and be like, bring me my Final Fantasy VII.
That's why everything's going over to the PS5 now. The PS4 is going to be obsolete in a year, and good luck getting your hands on a PS5.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's why people are so mad about the Yuffie DLC being released only on PS5, because no one can get one at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not readily available. Yeah.
No, and they will be by the time Part 2 comes out, but they're not now, and that's upset a lot of people, because they feel a bit. I think they feel a bit cheated. They've got Part 1 on the PS4, and they can't do anything else with it, which is a shame. But it's coming out on PC soon anyway, so most people will be playing it on PC. So.
Dupro in chat, and the new generation of gamers are going to need Fortnite type gameplay. Oh wait, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't like this. It's all about Fortnite, COD, Apex, isn't it? It's ridiculous. What happened to Overwatch?
If they released Legend of Dragoon for the Switch, I would go nuts. I love that game. It's one of the best RPGs.
I was wondering what LOD was.
Legend of Dragoon, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the last couple questions that I have for you guys. My question, we'll start with Croesus. This is for both of you, but we'll start with Croesus. Are there any negatives to this game?
Absolutely.
Please tell me.
And I'm not afraid to say it, because I really feel like it's very common for nostalgia to blind people, and they're like, "Oh no, it's the greatest game ever," and I'm like, "It's a great game, but every game has its issues, and like I was saying earlier, there's some lazy writing in there. I mean, there is, but we overlook it because the entirety of the game is good, and it really is. But I mean, like with Sephiroth going mad, and I mean, Sephiroth was fed misinformation the whole time, or with Cloud basically losing his mind the whole game. They didn't really kind of capitalize on that because they wanted to paint him as a hero you would love. If they painted it so well as him losing his mind the whole time, nobody would love Cloud as much as they do. But he was. I mean, he had no identity throughout the whole game. He had no identity. There was no uniqueness to him. He was Zack the whole game. I mean, and it's a shame. And I still like Cloud. I just not nearly as much as I did, because But that's Crisis Core's fault. That's not my fault. Blame something else.
He wasn't even a good version of Zack either.
Yeah, because he was always losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. He was so disconnected from everything, because Zack was friendly to everybody. I mean, that's how he met Cloud. He was, hey buddy, what's going on? Like, let's be friends. And even then, Cloud was very shy and reserved. He wasn't detached from things like he is in the original game, but he was very shy. He was a young kid in the military. I mean, but I definitely think some of the negatives to the game are the limitations of, I want to say limitations of the console, but honestly, like we've been saying the whole time, look at 7 and 8 back to back. They're worlds apart. They're so much further than a year apart. And you kind of look at 7 and you're like, what the hell were you guys thinking? But I think 7 was kind of a test run for them. I think that was kind of them breaking new ground. And they did a great job. And they were able to release a lot. I'm not going to say better, a lot more advanced games later. So, I mean, everybody knows 7 paved the way for so many games. I mean, even 8, and people hate 8. And 8 doesn't get the credit it deserves.
People love 8, just so you know. People love 8.
I don't like 8. I love Rhinoa. Rhinoa is like my favorite female Final Fantasy character.
She's a spoiled brat.
I relate.
I like 8. Do I love it? No. Is the plot incredibly convoluted and confusing? Absolutely.
But you could say that about 7.
7's not that confusing.
Right.
I mean, I can sum up 7 in probably about 30 words.
But you got to remember, a lot of people played it when they were quite young, and for your first playthrough, it can be quite confusing.
That is true. I mean, I was 10 when it came out. Yeah. And yeah, 7 wasn't even my first Final Fantasy. It was the first Final Fantasy was my first one, because I had a regular Nintendo and I played the original Final Fantasy game, and that was my introduction. And I'm willing to bet when I got Final Fantasy VII, I probably didn't even connect that they were connected in any way. I was just like, oh, new game. But but yeah, there's lots of negatives. I mean, it's not a perfect game. And to think that it is incredibly naive. There's no such thing as a perfect game. There's things they could have done different. But for example, Junin. Who likes Junin?
I do.
Or not Junin. I'm sorry. Fort Condor.
Yeah.
Who likes Fort Condor? Nobody does. I mean, you know what? And it could have been great. And it wouldn't have taken much on their part. It really wouldn't have. And it could have been great, but they dropped the ball on that. And they could have done more with Golden Saucer, like the Speed Square. Do you guys remember the roller coaster ride with the laser beams?
Yeah.
It always seemed kind of pointless. And I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was like, okay, Moving on. Let's not do that ever again.
There are some
I mean-
people in chat that are saying that they like Fort Condor. You're not saying you
Well, of
love
course
it,
they are.
though, are you guys? You're just saying you like it. Like, you could be saying, I
Who's saying they
kinda
like it?
We've got Jupe and Zessel. Kale saying, I
course not.
love tower defense.
I want to like Fort Condor. Like, I love the idea.
I like the
And
idea.
I'd even, but it's so mind numbing. Like, it's so slow and so mind numbing. You have to, for me, when I play it, I have to cheat it to get through it, to enjoy it. Like,
You don't like doing stuff like that. You don't
no,
like
I really
cheating
don't. Well,
stuff.
it's cheesing it. It's not cheating, but
Cheesing
it's cheesing it. You place a unit down. There's a minimum level that you can place units, and you place a unit down, and then you start the battle, and then you can place them a little further down, place them down, place them down, and as long as you eliminate the first couple enemies, and there's no more enemies on the field, you immediately win. So, because if you sit there and wait for the enemies to sit there and waddle their penguin butts up the mountain, it takes forever, and it's just so mind numbing. See, and same thing as Kale said, I love tower defense. I love tower defense too. Balloons is one of my favorite tower defense games. Actually, it is my favorite tower defense game of all time. And that's why I love the idea of Fort Condor, but it's so slow. It's so mind numbing.
I knew Zisa would disagree with you.
Tama, what about you? Do you have any negatives for this game?
Yeah, I think because the universe is so vast, there's a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of things that they could have done better with the story and from the spin-offs and stuff like that. Gameplay wise, because I didn't really focus much on the gameplay. To me, it just seemed like a very, very good game. I liked the summons, I liked the materia. But I think because they've made it so vast, there's a lot of inconsistencies between stories that they probably could have done better with. Just concentrated a little bit more and it would have been easy.
Zessel's written in chat that they could have made the materia system better, but it's one of his favourite magic systems. Zessel, how do you feel that the materia system could have been better? You can write that in chat for me. I quite like the materia system.
I do. I like the pairing that you know
Yeah,
you can get things that match up and
I said it
stuff.
earlier, but I think they kept the materia system simple.
Yeah.
But at the time, I mean, it was 97. People who played video games were young. You didn't have too many older people playing video games, so they kept things like that simple. But they could have gone so much more in depth with it, and it would have been amazing. Like you could have created combos that you never would have thought of without looking it up. And at the time, looking games up didn't really happen. I had a strategy guide at the time, and I played through it clean the first time, and then strategy guide the whole way. Had to get everything. But yeah, they could have created a pretty in-depth junctioning combo system, and you can combo some stuff, but it's very limited. It's very limited.
I remember when I played it on my Switch, and my brother was looking, and he took the Switch off me. He was like, "Why have you got that materia with that materia, and that doesn't fit there, and you need that one with that one?" And it was all very confusing. But my brother completely rearranged my whole materia set for like every character. So
Like me
I
watching
like.
H-Bomb stream.
Yeah, I like.
H-Bomb, what do you do? Stop that! No.
I get the same from Croesus now. It's like, what are you doing? I'm playing Hollow Knight at the minute, and he's yet to watch me play it, and I've got a feeling that's going to cause a bit of like when you watch me play Super Mario.
Because I might never watch again.
I know, yeah, I might be like single very quickly.
Zessel wrote in chat that his reason for his could have made the materia system better. He says better cohesion with each other, more materia, better combos. He says he's uber spoiled by the new threat mod. So I don't know what the difference is with the materia in the new threat mod. Do you, Croesus? Are there more materia or something?
That's the new threat.
They did add new materia. It's been a minute since I played the new threat mod. They did add new materia, and they also, I think they they changed the way some of the material worked too. So they were in the right direction. New Threat has a new version out that I have not played yet, and I've heard they've actually changed quite a bit. So what Cecil actually might be referring to might be something I've not actually experienced yet. But the previous New Threat mod that I played, they had changed some things and added some things around. So.
Okay, well, we're getting on to the last question that I have in my list, which means that we will be going through all of the questions that you lovely guys in chat have put through. If any of you have any more questions that you would like to put through, they're in, if you just go into the channel points, and you can put it through there, and then it'll come up in my list and I can read it through. So the last question is another one for both of you. What would you say to convince someone who's never played this original Final Fantasy VII to pick it up today? Tama, we'll start with you.
Well, first of all, I would suggest that they play it on the Switch more than anything. And I think if you like RPGs, then like Croesus said before, it paved the way for a lot of RPGs. So it's good to see the original, what it used to be. And the characters and the story are just phenomenal. And you will get hooked. I think you will want to see the movie. You will want to read the books. And it definitely, if you play a game for story, then Final Fantasy VII is one of the best ones to play. But it's definitely good to see where it originally started for RPGs. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think the reason I've always loved 7 is mostly for the story. That just grabbed me right from the start, and I always thought it was really impressive. Since then, I've played all of the other a lot of the other Final Fantasies, and I found that earlier Final Fantasies also have really good and interesting stories, but obviously I was first introduced to 7, and therefore it's been quite a big one for me. Croesus, what about you? What would you say to convince someone that's never played it before to pick it up now?
Do you want to be a part of history? Do you want to understand what's gone down in video game history? Then you need to play 7, because that is what paved the way for some of your favorite games.
Beautiful.
Some of those references that are thrown into the games that you love and know today came from Final Fantasy VII. Do you know how many times Final Fantasy VII is quoted in other games or referenced? The games that aren't even connected to Final Fantasy in any way. To be like, oh, the silver hair guy with a huge sword. I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is talking about.
Blonde guy with chocobo hair.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's the Final Fantasy? I meant to say, what's the Final Fantasy with the chocobo in it that I like, that waggles his butt?
That is Chocobo Mystery Dungeon.
No. It's Thingy's chocobo. He has a pet chocobo. He waggles his head like that.
Oh, that's Final Fantasy.
What's his name? The chocobo has a name, and I can't remember his name.
Hang on, I gotta look it up because I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I can't remember his name.
It's the one with Bart. It's Boko.
Bart.
Thank you, Kale.
Bart.
Yes.
Boko. Yes, thank you. Boko.
Yeah, Final Fantasy V.
I was gonna say, if you like chocobos, that's another reason to play it, because you get to breed chocobos.
She watched me play Final Fantasy V, and when you run while you're riding Boko, he waggles his butt on the world screen.
It's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny.
Right, we're going to go through all of the questions that people have asked in chat. Some of them might be more sarcastic than others. We start with Jupe, who is a regular sarcastic voice in our channel. Is there any reason to not consider Kate Sith as the worst character?
I love Reeve. I love Reeve. And honestly, so Kate Sith is kind of in Advent Children, just as the cat, not the big fluffy animal.
Right.
And it's a cat. I have to.
Yeah, it is a cat.
Yes.
Right. But I love Reeve. Reeve is one of my favorite characters because he's such a God. I'm working for a terrible company. I want to help you guys. He really comes around. I love Reeve. Yeah. Kate Sith and Reeve.
Reeve really redeems himself in Dirge of Cerberus, I think. And Kate Sith, I've just never ever. I hated playing the bit where you have to play as Kate in Dirge of Cerberus. I never really liked. But yeah, Reeve is a good character. I liked Reeve. I did like Reeve.
I like.
Now, gameplay wise, playing as Kate Sith in your party, yeah, that sucks.
I've never had him in my party.
Oh, me either. It's 10 kinds of bad. Like, it's so
Never
terrible.
had him.
Never used him.
I
used
picked
Vincent
Red
before I used him.
13 over him. You know, it's.
I like Red 13 though. He's cool.
Yeah.
I like how he
have him.
attacks. I like how he jumps, roll, and does like a front flip as he attacks. He has one of the cooler attack animations.
Ultimate Sea Strife is asking, do you think they could have made a better story, or is what they had perfect? Could they have gone further with it?
They definitely could have gone further. Yeah, that could be. It's not that it's bad. It's just they could have gone into it so much further and elaborated on so many things and made it. It could have been so more. It could have been much richer. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It's just there's so many areas where I'm like, God, I'd love to know more about that, or more about that, or more about that. And honestly, that's what the other games do for you, which is what makes them so good. And makes you want to play them. But yeah, I don't think they should change the story. I just wish it was more. There was more substance to it. There was more depth.
Definitely.
Natasha asks, besides your favorite characters, who would you be and why?
Who would I be? Oh gosh, I knew she'd ask something like that. Yuffie. I love Yuffie. Or Cisne from the Turks in Crisis Core. I love Cisne, and I think they did her dirty. I think she should be in it more. I really wish they'd have kept. I know it's the other way around, so they couldn't. But I prefer Cisne over Elena, who you have in FF7. And I think she's really good, and she has a little crush on Zack, I think. So probably either Yuffie or Cisne. Probably Cisne because I get to work with the Turks, and that's closer to Reno. So
I kind of saw that gradually coming in there.
yeah, hell yeah, we can look for Reno. Wouldn't mind that. No, sir.
I
Anyway.
love Cisne in Crisis Core. That's my girlfriend right there. That's my wife.
She's honest. Oh well, it's a good job I picked her then, isn't it?
And Croesus, who would you be and why?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, who would I be out of just the original cast?
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess Hama picked Cisne, but I would be.
Who's right? Sephiroth 108.
Yeah, she said besides your favorite character there.
I hate you, Blue.
Mind you, Sephiroth is not your favorite character.
I'm very torn on Sephiroth now. It's funny how growing up and just becoming a different person through life changes your opinion on a character so much, because the character didn't change. It just you did. I mean, I feel like I'm going to be Sid. So let's go with Sid.
Oh, no.
Interesting.
The old man,
oh,
yeah.
he's my least favorite character. No, he's my least favorite character.
I'd probably be Sephiroth. Sephiroth's a badass. He really is. So, yeah. So, Sephiroth or Vincent, because Vincent's really cool, too. I mean, and who doesn't want to be a brooding vampire? I mean,
yeah, he's wicked. But
right.
Yeah, Sid is my least favorite character. I hate Sid. I hate the way he behaves. He's just Shira and everything. I don't like Sid.
He's probably a bit dated these days as well. I feel like they'll update him a little bit in the remake.
I'm very curious as to how they're going to do that, because I hope they make him worse. I hope they go the complete opposite direction. Like,
they might do.
Really set it up.
They've made Aerith start cursing and everything. She says shit in the remake, yeah. And she's holding on. She slips. She goes,
girl.
"Oh
She's
shit!"
not supposed to do that.
No, I
What?
don't like it, and Reno does as well, and I don't like that either.
There's a lot
But
of
he
swearing in the
calls
remake, and I
someone a
wasn't
bitch.
expecting it at all. Like in the original,
No.
you just had Barrett occasionally getting a little bit
Yeah.
over exasperated, but in the remake, actually, quite a few of the characters swear, and I felt it was really unnecessary.
It was.
That's
Reno calls
really
Aerith a
weird.
bitch, and I hate it. Reno would not do that.
What?
That is
Gross
very out of
face.
character. That's completely
What?
out of character. No. Yeah.
We won't spoil anything further for him. Zessel's
My mind is
Zessel's got a
blown.
question.
I hate it.
Zessel's got a great question. What do you name this character? Do you name him Red 13 or Nanaki?
Nanaki. And I hate the way you pronounce Nanaki.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
It's not Nanaki, it's Nanaki. Duh.
Each to their own.
It's beta all over again.
I keep his name as Red 13. I don't change his name. I just keep it as Red 13 because I don't have him in my party, so I don't really change his name. But usually I just call him Red.
Yeah, I chop and change it to every time I play it through.
It's funny, we're sitting here watching your playthrough and it just happened to have your party screen up and you named Red 13 Red.
Yes, but that's for speed. That's for speed,
I know.
you see.
Right.
That's the difference with that one.
Please.
What's he writing now? Nannykins, Sephiroth, and Yuffie for life. Yes, that's exactly how I say it. Nannykins and Sephiroth. There's also put a question in. I don't know how seriously we want to take this. Name one actor that would be better at playing Sephiroth than David Bowie in a Final Fantasy VII film.
In a film? Oh,
Yeah, he said in a film.
wow. I don't know. He'd be good at playing Sephiroth in a film.
That is a good question. Oh, Christopher Walken. Duh.
You reckon?
I mean, if we're not going to have David Bowie as Sephiroth, the next obvious choice is Christopher Walken. Okay? Tell me I'm wrong.
He's too old.
He is a bit old for it now.
It doesn't matter how old he is.
I think the original voice actor George Newbern would actually do a pretty good job. But then he's older now as well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
How can you put a person to such a legendary character and not feel like you're ruining it?
I'll let you guys
really
think on
weird.
it. I think you should think on that question and then post it in a tweet. I think that would be a really good. You two should think on it.
God.
See what would be good.
Yeah.
I think a couple of people have actually asked this same question. What is your favorite Final Fantasy VII summon?
Shiva. Shiva is my
Really?
favorite. Yeah, Shiva is my favorite summon from any Final Fantasy game, particularly FF15. I love what they did with her in FF15. I love that they made it Gentiana. But yeah, Shiva is my favorite summon. What's happening?
Is Croesus laughing over dupe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yes.
I just saw it on my phone.
Oh,
Unfortunately, yes. Plews did write RIP in his question
That's
to
hilarious.
us. R.I.P. Of course.
Can we say it on
dear
stream? Because that's too funny.
Well, to be fair, if Christopher Walken is a bit too old, David Bowie's a bit too dead. Too soon? That's what Duke's written. Too
amazing.
soon?
Oh my god.
It's been a couple of years, hasn't it?
Shiva is my favorite summon.
Suit likes
I
Tam's
love
choices. Suit's a big fan.
My favorite Final Fantasy VII summon would probably be, and I'm stalling because I'm not 100% sure on this choice, but I think I am. I really loved using this summon. I never use summons in Final Fantasy VII anymore. Anytime I play through, I never use them. They're pointless. You do because they take forever. They take forever to go through, and it's just so dragged out. But Bahamut Zero, I absolutely love Bahamut Zero. His metallic body and the blue that comes from it, it's just a very, very cool summon. I can't think of any other ones where I'm like, oh yeah, that one's awesome. Yeah, Bahamut Zero is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I would have liked most, and I don't know. I like Odin, but he's just normal, really, isn't he?
You see, I
Oh, that's
hated
cool.
that they took the whole summoning thing out of 10 and made it just one person. I like the fact that
Yeah.
you all could summon in FF7, and then they made a game about summoners. So, you know, and just one person can do it, and that annoyed me. I like.
Falafel's pointing out Crosis's pronouncing.
I know. I am fully aware that I
Bahamut.
pronounce
It's Bahamut.
Bahamut. I know. Okay. I don't pronounce I don't pronounce many things incorrectly, but I know I pronounce that incorrectly, but I've always done it. So I'm sorry. Just
That's
consider
like
my
these
grammar the beta version, okay?
No,
Falafel
cool.
asked a good question earlier. What is your least favorite boss fight in 7? Yeah, now think on that one.
I know. I'm like, oh wow. I want to say Palmer, but I love watching him get hit with the truck.
Yeah, I do.
Least favorite.
I think the one I struggled with the most was when I was a kid was Hojo. Hojo was a pain when I was a kid. Like I had a hard time getting through him. My least favorite though.
Well, you know that there's raps and apps. Which one is the one in Wutai? You remember Don Corneo's boss, the flying one, where you have no materia and you have to hit him with the swift bolts? Is it apps,
that would be in Wutai if you've got
raps?
no materia.
Yeah. Was he called raps or apps? One of those two. I can't remember which, because you've got the sewer one the first time that you have to fight Dons.
I don't know. I don't know which one was which.
We've got a raid in from Strife. Hello, everybody from Strife's lot. Thank you very much for the raid.
Hello.
Welcome in.
Welcome, raiders.
We are, if you're in chat and you have a question about Final Fantasy VII that you would like to ask Crosis or Tama, go to the channel points and put a little channel point question in, and I will be reading them out and asking these two. At the minute, we're asking what your least favorite fight is in Final Fantasy VII boss fight. And I'm saying mine would be when you're in Wutai, you have no materia, and it's an optional boss. When you go up onto the, I can't remember what they're called, but you go up into like the little hillside, and you've got Eleanor and Yuffie, I think it is, hanging upside down on the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to fight this flying, I think, apps or raps. I think it's apps, maybe. Dachau, that's it, Falafel. That's the one. Raps, it is raps, yes. And so I always spend far too much money on swift bolts and whatever the other one is, throwing them at them, and I usually die because they do an arrow attack. That's my least favorite one, guys.
My least favorite boss fight is the first fight with Reno and Rude, because I don't want to hurt Reno. So that's.
I knew that was going to be the answer. I was like, you could just throw grenades at them, and I knew it was going to be. I don't.
I was like, if I, because a lot of the Turks fights are optional. But I always like to see the Turks, so I always like to go there. But if I can avoid fighting them, I will, because I don't want to hurt Reno. That's my least favorite. I wish I could give you a better answer, but it's fine.
True. No, that's fine. Strife was just playing Crisis Core. Actually,
hey,
Strife was just playing Crisis Core.
It's an amazing game.
I would like to be playing Crisis Core at some point.
That's how I ended up on Crisis channel, because I joined when you were playing Crisis Core. That's how I found Crisis.
Here we go. Crisis, have you decided on your least favorite, or is it still just going to go with the Palmer, but you actually like it?
No, like I can't think of any. It's probably the Hojo fight. I mean, I like that you get to fight him, but I just know that if there was any boss I struggled with more than any fight throughout my entire life, it was probably Hojo. He was very obnoxious to fight.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I probably struggled with him a couple times as well.
Strife is getting towards the end of Crisis Core.
Oh,
by the sounds of it.
oh,
we know what happens. Sort of.
Hey, Rufus! Sorry, I can see your stream on the thing. I like Rufus. Rufus is another one of my favorite characters.
And Kale doesn't like fighting Rufus. Oh, right, okay.
I like
the video's
Rufus
on
fight.
point. It is. We have got Rufus on screen, yes. Flaffle also asked, what is your favorite / most used materia combination?
My most common use, because I do it on almost every playthrough now, is fire and elemental. Because when I come out of Midgar, the first thing I do is I go and get beta from the Midgar Zolom every time, and you have to junction that on your armor so he doesn't murder you with beta. That's probably my most used one. My favorite is probably HP up. I tend to try and save up my money before I get to Cosmo Canyon, and I buy as many of those as I can. That way I get 9,999 HP as soon as possible. So, and I usually just stack those, because when you have all that HP, you just kind of breeze through the game.
Yeah.
Tama, what about yourself?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
See, I'm thinking with my most recent playthroughs, I really like it when I've got things like /all.
Yeah.
But I can't think what I would have comboed it with, really.
I was thinking about, in my head, I was just thinking, well, just put all with everything. The elemental ones are good, and I play the hell out of more with Yuffie, but I can't think of a favorite combination, really. It's just any that works.
And Zessel's asking as well, because we've had your least favorite battle. Zessel's asking, what is your favorite battle?
It's Sephiroth, probably.
Yeah, it's pretty
Sephiroth.
Pretty awesome one.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. Favorite battle? Oh no, I've never thought about these questions before. It's so hard.
It is when you put on the spot.
I really like the guy, I cannot think of the name, but the one who uses Trine. Trine is one of my favorite attacks in the game.
Materia Keeper?
I think it's Materia Keeper. Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah, and I love the Trine attack. He's just a very cool enemy. I always thought he was really cool. He's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, that's the one where when you're in the speed run, it's a hit or miss situation because you're trying to do something like the Lucky Sevens.
It was for you, yes.
Rude. That is where speedrunners actually save.
You about lost your minds there.
That is when they actually save. We've got another raid coming in. Hello, Nom. Thank you very much for raiding. I hope your stream went well.
Hello.
We're just going through the questions that people are asking in chat about Final Fantasy VII. So once again, guys, if any of you have any questions, Final Fantasy VII questions that you would like to throw towards us, put it in the channel points redemption that I have left there for you. Let's keep moving on because we've got quite a few questions actually. Let's see. Plues has written birthday in one sitting stream. No, I'm not doing a birthday in one sitting stream. Thanks, Plues. I do intend to do another. Every year I intend to do a charity stream of me sitting playing Final Fantasy VII start to finish, but I'm gonna keep it till later in the year and not my birthday because it's still too soon. And Paul has actually written, challenge for a Red, Vincent, and Kate Sith only game. Would you guys ever play it when you don't just have Cloud? Would you ever play it with Red, Vincent, and Kate Sith in your party? Would you be willing? Do you think you could finish it that way?
It's actually it sounds like a lot of fun.
It does sound like fun.
Yeah, I would do it.
Very hard.
I'd be really
most
interested
useless
to see.
characters ever. I'm
Yeah,
down.
it would be very hard because I never use those characters, so to get used to them would be hard. It's a shame because I think Vincent could be a really, really useful party member if they hadn't have wrecked him with that limit break. The guns that he used, having a ranged weapon, is really good, but they ruined him with his limit break.
I love the idea of his limit break. It's just useless.
Yeah.
I think Red 13 would probably carry that team.
Yeah. Agree on that as well. Zessel asked, who would you trade Aerith's fate with?
Face.
No one. Absolutely no. No, absolutely not.
That's such a resounding no. I would never swap it. She should always die.
Yeah, absolutely. She should always die.
It's not that I don't like Aerith, because I really do. But her death is so important to the story. And it's not just important to the story, it's also super important to the history of Final Fantasy VII. Because I don't know if anybody knows, but the reason why she was written in to die, she was not written in to die actually originally.
Oh.
And then one of the writers, I think it was one of the writers, had a death in the family. I think it was his mom or something. And then he wrote that into the story for Aerith to die, because they wanted the player to have that same feeling that nobody is permanent, that they can be ripped away from you in a second and you have no idea. And I'm like, that's such a powerful message. And I know a lot of people play Final Fantasy VII and have no idea, but to me, because I know that, I'm like, she has to die. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but it's such an important part of the story. And if Remake doesn't kill her, which I'm willing to bet that they don't, I guarantee that they don't. I'm calling it now, that they don't kill her or somebody else dies. You're gonna have a lot of pissed off people.
Yeah,
I won't even play it, and I'll find out about it, and I'll be pissed off.
I mean, the fact that the game starts and ends with the exact same shot, to me, it's a perfect circle. And I've always loved it for that. It's very moving to me when I see the very beginning of the game with Aerith, just the green lights around her, because it always makes me remember the end of the game. And it's just it's a beautiful circle. And if they change it, we're in trouble.
I wouldn't swap. Yeah, she does. I wouldn't swap her for any other character, because it's her character that needs to die. Basically, it wouldn't have the same impact if it was anybody else. So yeah, no, I wouldn't swap her fate for anyone else's. And besides, I don't really like Aerith. I mean, she's okay, but I don't think I had her around long enough to get to know, because I never put her in my party because I knew what happened to her. So somebody had already ruined that for me. So I never really kept her around. But no, I mean, as mean as it sounds, no, she should die. And I hope she does. It sounds really mean.
Yeah. Zessel says that he would totally swap Yuffie in. I mean, that doesn't work with the story, but
she's
exactly.
She's just a kid.
Oh, they're all just kids, aren't they?
She's 16 and an optional character. It wouldn't make any difference.
Yuffie is 15.
She's 16 in FF7. She's 15 in Crisis Core, and goes 9 to 15 up to before Crisis. In between Crisis Core, it goes 9 to 15, and she's 16.
Either way,
in FF7.
Either way, she's just a kid. Yeah.
So could guys please stop drooling over her? Thanks.
Anyways, you have to kill Aerith, but if I bet you the remake kills Tifa instead.
Oh my god!
No, I guarantee it, because people love Tifa, and what other character dying would have such a huge impact on Cloud?
Yeah,
Tifa, absolutely. It would have. He would be devastated.
The way they're twisting the story, I would not be surprised if in this alternate universe that they're creating, they swap it, and it's Tifa.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
That, or they're gonna tease Yuffie's or not you. Thanks, Cecil. They're gonna
kill
tease
Yuffie. He's put hashtag kill Yuffie in chat.
They're gonna tease Aerith's death, and she's not gonna die at the moment you think she is, and she's gonna die like 2 minutes later. Watch. And my theory is she didn't even die in the original. Well, not by Sephiroth.
No.
She got hit in the spine with that sword. She was just paralyzed.
Cloud killed her.
Cloud put her in the water. She's round.
Yep.
So
That's absolutely
thanks,
true.
Cloud.
Well, this question really went quite far.
But that's a theory. A game theory.
Just uploaded Aerith to the cloud.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is to me, like Kale also agrees that it helps drive home the point of the live stream with the beginning and the end all being wrapped up with the whole point of the ancients, which we have been introduced to slightly in the remake already as well. And so you kind of have to keep Aerith doing the thing that she's doing, and if they don't do it, they will have to change the storyline. And if they do kill off Tifa, then that's also going to change future parts of the storyline. But maybe they kill her later on. If they were to, I feel like they're still going to kill someone.
Yeah, they have to.
Like it should be Aerith. Yeah. It should be Aerith. But if they're going to chop and change things, then they're still going to kill someone. Our last question, if anybody else has any more questions. Oh, actually, Zessel's just chucked in a couple more. Okay, we've got a couple questions, but if anybody else has any more, do the same thing Zessel just did with using a channel points. Dupe asked, invent a new minigame for Gold Sorcerer's Wonder Square. That's tough.
It's got to be a card game. I don't know about anybody else. I love Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX's card games. I love them.
A lot of people do, yeah.
And I would die if they put a card game in 7. That would be amazing.
New minigame. Oh gosh. I like the minigames.
Think of areas that there are in the game that they didn't turn into minigames, because I feel like they did. Like right now on screen, we've got the slashing of the motorbikes. And they very much made that a minigame. They did the submarine minigame. They did the snowboarding minigame. Like they put all of those in there. I'm just trying to think what elements we had that they didn't.
I'm surprised they didn't do like a Junin minigame in the Gold Saucer. Now that you mentioned that, I know you can go to Junin and fight the battles, but I'm surprised they didn't do some kind of rendition of that in the Golden Saucer, because they did. They put all your mini games were located in the Golden Saucer except Junin, or not Junin. I keep saying Junin. Fort Condor. I'm sorry.
Condor. Yeah.
Yeah, I always call it Fort Condor.
I know what you mean.
They are next to each other, pretty much. Yeah, Kale's written that one as well. Give us that in the Gold Saucer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I was when you were saying Junin, I was trying to think, like, what about how when you were pretending to be a soldier and you had to press all of the buttons in the right order, but it wouldn't be fun. I'm not saying that it would be a good mini game. It could have been a mini game.
No, thank God. Thank God they didn't do that. That sucks.
I'd like them to elaborate more on Mog's house. I want more Moogles. I want more Moogles. I think we should breed Moogles instead of Chocobo.
Interesting.
We should have a Moogle.
Yeah, let's get more of his life story. Mog's House, Domestic Abuse Edition.
Oh, okay.
Mog had too many Koopa nuts.
She leaves him.
Right?
You just see her walking out with a suitcase.
Oh my God. You see the kids run out of the house again. Just bloop, bloop. It'll be so funny.
Oh,
wow. Okay. The next question that Zessel's asked. These are your typical ones. We've got fave segment of the game. Interesting. Fave segment.
Probably as soon as you're kind of let go from the confines of linearness. Final Fantasy VII has it has this thing that gives you the illusion of open world, but it's not actually open world until you pretty much get the tiny Bronco. Because you're still linear. You're just on a world map.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have very specific locations you have to go to. I mean, you can drive around or walk around, but you're not doing anything different. But when you get to Highwind, you really can just kind of go. Yeah, I think that's my favorite.
My favorite is actually Wutai. You know, it's optional, and I love working with the bit where we work with the Turks and save Yuffie and Elena.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to the Turks again. I'm well aware.
Just an FYI, she's wearing a Turk shirt right now too.
I am wearing a Turk shirt.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Turk shirt. I got Reno on my pillow. Yeah, I like that. I like the whole Wutai thing. I think even though it's optional, I think I like that. That was probably my favorite bit. The more Turks, the better.
It's weird. I feel like I really like when everything super kicks off with all of the weapons waking up and starting to throw themselves around the planet and attacking Midgar, and like when everything really starts to go to shit. I feel like that's a really fun, like there's a lot of like cinematics at that point. There's a lot of shit going down, and I quite enjoy that part.
Yeah.
You actually just reminded me of a scene that I really love, and it's where is it Diamond weapon that attacks Junin?
Yeah.
Is it Diamond?
I believe so.
And they blows that off with the cannon. I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in the entire game. Yeah, I love that part.
My favorite cutscene is the one where it blows Rufus up in
where Rufus gets
HQ.
hit. Yeah.
It's a great cutscene because he just stands there like a boss, man. He knows what's coming, and how he didn't die, I have no idea. But no, they saved him.
Thank you, Juice.
It was the
Sapphire.
Diamond is Midgar. Yeah.
And that's I love that cutscene. I think it's really good.
We've got a couple more questions come in. Oh, actually, was Essel's asked favorite music?
Oh, One Winged Angel.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of a bit easy that one, surely.
You know what? You know what's funny? You say Winged Angel. I'm going to tell you, every time I hear it, I love it. I love the Turks theme.
Oh. Yeah, I got that on my phone. That's my ringtone.
I love the Turks theme. Yeah, the Turks theme. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh. It's so iconic. Like as soon as I hear it, I'm like, oh, that's the Turks. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I have the Turks theme on my phone, and I have the Chocobo theme on my phone. And what I like about the Chocobo theme is there's a lot of different versions of the Chocobo theme, and that's pretty cool. I think I've got the FF15 one on my phone. But yeah, I mean, as much as I love the Turks, still One Winged Angel is my favorite music. It's epic. Everyone knows that music.
Yeah. I mean, I am known to dance to the Costa del Sol every week. I can't help it, but yeah, One Winged Angel's always gonna top everything else within the game. It's just right time, right place. Everything's good for it. And Kale has asked the question, which isn't really a question: why does the boss battle music slap so hard?
Yeah, because that's the shit is going down sound.
Umatsu did a good job, and it's like everything that they've done has left a mark. Like the victory theme, for example, everybody uses that victory theme when they do something right, don't they? It's everybody knows that victory theme. It's like everything they've done with this, it's left a mark somewhere. And I mean, I know that's in all the Final Fantasies, but was it in any before 7? Did
the victory theme? Yes.
Yeah. Was it?
Yes.
Was it,
it's been pretty much the victory theme for the whole franchise. It's just been altered slightly more and more, and just been evolved. Yeah.
But no, One Winged Angel, definitely my favorite.
Our next question, Maori Sharpshooter has asked, do you think it's unreasonable that people thought a console that's very clearly reached the limits of its capabilities would be able to take the upgrade? So I think we're talking about 4. Do you think it's unreasonable that people thought a console that has very clearly reached the limit of its capabilities would be able to take the upgrade? As in, do you understand that question?
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to want it on PS4. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think PS4 is coming to the end of its days. Yeah, fair enough. And the other parts are going to be released on PS5. But I don't think it's unreasonable for the PS4 players to want this DLC. And I don't think it's unreasonable that they can't have it. I think there's going to be plenty more DLC in part 2 and 3 for PS5 players to have. I don't see why there's any reason that PS4 players cannot have this DLC.
Yeah, it is a bit strange that we're being left out when there's still so many PS4 players and hardly any PS5 players.
Yeah, exactly.
Zessel, you have kind of asked a question. I feel like we've kind of answered this question, but I'll ask it just in case you feel to change it. Zessel's asked, what character do you think you're most like? Zessel says, we all know I'm Sid. So apparently Zessel is Sid, apparently. I didn't think you were Sid, but...
no, I wouldn't.
Do you think you're like any of the characters in 7?
Not in 7. Apparently I'm like Rhinoa in 8.
Very true.
Yeah, apparently. In 7.
Well, we could open it up to all of the Final Fantasies if you want. If you feel that you relate, or if either of you want to say which one you think either of you relate to most. That could make it interesting.
Yeah, apparently
Who do we think Croesus
I'm like
is?
Rhinoa. Who do you think Croesus is? Kate Sith, because it's a cat. It's Croesus' cat.
I understand your connection there, but I'm like making a million other connections in my head to Kate Sith for me, and none of them are good.
Okay. No, that's not what I meant. I meant because of the cat thing. What's Croesus like?
Dupe got it.
Like a bratty teenager. Oh no, I'm sorry for you.
That's exactly how I feel about Renoa. Renoa is a spoiled brat. She's I can't.
But don't you think all of the characters in 8 are pretty teenagery? Because they are all teenagery. And
Renoa and Squall, most of all, get on my nerves. I can't stand Squall. He's a selfish jerk, and he only cares about himself. And even when he stops caring about himself, it's in a very selfish manner. Like, well, I want people to like me now. And I'm like, oh, now? Now? They've been needing your help this whole time, but now? Okay. I can't stand Squall. Squall gets on my nerves so bad.
Yeah, he does genuinely care about Rhinoa, like, eventually.
Zessel is saying in chat that Croesus is also Sid. That's what Zessel feels that you're... I don't know, Zessel, why do you feel that both you
I really
and
don't like
Croesus
Sid as a character.
Are Sid? I don't know what parts of the character could make you guys him.
The way Sid treats people? No. No. He's just not.
Everyone is Sid's dupe.
See, I was going to connect more to Aerith than anybody, because Aerith genuinely has a care and concern for everybody, and I try to as well. Honestly, that is the best connection I can make.
Are you saying you're always stabbed in the back?
If the sword fits.
We can move on to the next question.
Yeah, let's move on.
Where was I? Well, Alcafrolic asked. We have asked this question, Alcafrolic, but we'll ask it from a slightly different angle. So Alcafrolic asked, why should somebody that has never played any Final Fantasy consider playing this one? So consider Alcafrolic, for example, hasn't ever ventured into any Final Fantasy realms. Do you feel that this would be a really good starting Final Fantasy?
7, actually, yes. Yeah, I think 7's a great starting point for Final Fantasy games. The graphics they're not NES graphics. So they are outdated, but it could be worse. And it's a very easy system to understand, and it's a very alluring story as well. So I think if any Final Fantasy is going to grab your attention, it's going to be 7.
Mm.
And unless you just can't handle the older graphics, then I'd probably recommend either 10 or 15, one of those two.
Because 15
But
would probably
7
be like an easy in, because it's got very different battle mechanics, but then it's got all of the Final Fantasy elements.
The only
working
problem
away.
I see with the only problem I see with 15 is I feel like people get bored quickly.
Yeah.
So I know fans that have gotten bored quickly of that game.
Ooh, don't let Natasha hear you.
I loved 15. 15 made me cry. I can't hear "Stand by Me" by Florence and the Machine without getting teary eyed. Like I love 15. But 7's a really solid title. It kind of has like everything going for it. So and it's not too hard of a game. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like for an intro on the Switch as well. Yeah, for an intro into Final Fantasy series 7, it's easy to play. It's got a really good story that's going to keep people interested. And if you have it on the Switch, I feel like it's not going to hurt your eyes graphics wise. You're going to be okay with it to play through.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That is probably maybe the best way to introduce yourself to a Final Fantasy. And I think 7 probably is one of the ones. Kale wrote 9. The only reason I would say that 9 isn't a good introduction to Final Fantasy, it is a whole, like, if you are a Final Fantasy fan, very much 9 is, because it is based on all of the early games of Final Fantasy. So it's very Final Fantasy. But that could be putting off people who've never played a Final Fantasy title before, because it might be a bit too fantasy.
Yeah.
9 is good, but 9 is not a good representation of the franchise, in my opinion. I don't. When I look at all the Final Fantasy games individually, 9 resembles a couple of them, but 9 is very different. That chibi style that they went with is very different. It's not bad. I love 9. 9's a great game. My only gripe with 9 is how slow the ATB system is. But besides that, it's a great game. But I don't feel like it's a good starter, because it doesn't represent Final Fantasy very well. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not a good. People will go into other Final Fantasies expecting 9 after that, and that's not what they'll get. They'll get something completely different.
The characters are quite good. I like Vivi. Vivi's Vivi's one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters. Garnet's pretty cool.
Maori's written in chat that all of the Final Fantasies are on sale on the Switch right now, which is great. Anyone in chat, if you haven't purchased on the Switch and you have been wanting to, I'm now thinking about it myself, actually. I need to have a look at it.
Yeah, I am now too. My Switch is sitting right in front of me, and I'm like,
I'm going to have a little look through that sale right now. Apparently they're 50% off. So
wow, half price. Huh?
We should be grabbing those while we can, if we can. On the Switch. So hopefully that's answered Alcafort's question all right, because we believe that they are really good games that people should get into. I have one more question from Maori as well. Does Ever Crisis appeal to you guys at all, especially with the inclusion of a young Sephiroth chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited about Ever Crisis. I like I said before, though, I wish it was coming out on a different platform, but I will still buy it. I will still play it, and I'm very, very excited to play that game.
Yeah, give it time. I don't think it'll stick to Android. I definitely think they'll bring that to other platforms, and honestly, might just be a test market for them. I mean, they honestly might just be testing it with Android and then bringing it to other platforms. Like I said, they did it with the Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. That was Android and iOS only, and now it's on everything. And I didn't even like it.
I mean, this is the thing as well. Like, as we can see with all of the Final Fantasies currently half price on the Switch, we can see that they have, well, not all of the Final Fantasies, but the ones that they have put on the Switch is also going to show them the numbers and show them if it is worth putting these mobile games onto Switch, which us as Switch owners know, yes, I would like it on the Switch. I have a very old phone. I cannot play games on my phone. It's painful. So I would like these things on Switch.
I want everything on Switch.
Yeah.
Everything. I adore the Switch. I think it's honestly the best console since the original PlayStation. I mean, their lineup, it's not about anything except their game lineup. And I think that's what makes and breaks a console is your game lineup. And PlayStation 1 had an amazing game lineup. And I'm partly biased because I love RPGs and they had a great selection of RPGs and other games too. And Switch also has a great lineup of RPGs.
That's all of the questions I have. I'm just reading through chat just to see if there's any little snippets I want to read out. Final Fantasy IX is a return to the roots. The series has veered off its original course. Yeah, I mean, yeah. 9 was a homage to the originals. And Kale's just said, oh, that's why Chocobo Mysteries Dungeon is on sale. There we go. Yeah, so Kale has recently been playing the Mystery Dungeon one.
Want to get that.
Which looks really fun as well. Croesus has god tier answers, says Maori. Thank you very much, Maori. We do appreciate. This is why we have Croesus and Tamara on this evening, because I just
don't know how to shut up.
I knew that. No, that's what the podcast's all about. We knew that they would be perfect for Final Fantasy VII content and other Final Fantasy content. To be honest, we get Croesus on for quizzes because he knows all the answers. Dupe's written, it's criminal that they haven't released 1 and 2 on Steam. I mean, I want them all on the Switch. I would like all of the older ones on Switch. They put them on mobile. Yes, Kale, yes. All right, okay, well, I think we're caught up. If no one has any other questions, the last thing I'm going to say about is it's going to be a Final Fantasy quiz next month. So April is Easter. Therefore, I am creating a Final Fantasy podcast quiz, Easter quiz. And if you are interested in being a quiz player, a guest on my next podcast against somebody else, please let me know, because I would love to have some contestants. Tomato will be coming back as the adjudicator and the audio round creator with his bassoonified songs. And also, if you have any questions that you think would be really good for the quiz, please throw them at me. Throw them at me in the Discord, DM me, or just a whisper on here. I appreciate any and all help towards this quiz. And it'll be, I think it's going to be just after Easter. Easter's quite early this year. It's early start of April. So it'll be in the first half of April. I haven't set a date because I haven't got any contestants yet. What's Mary saying? Croesus was the first Final Fantasy streamer I ever watched, and it's now so hard to watch others because their knowledge isn't god tier. Oh.
Wait till they find out I'm a fraud. Oh God. Actually, my Suit wants to be.
Yes, Suit did what say. Yes, Suit. I'm aware you do want to be a contestant. Yeah.
My recommendation for a contestant is actually here. I recommended that Falafel be on here, but that I haven't asked him, so that's up to him. Maybe he wants to answer that question in chat.
I think he's gone. He hasn't said anything for a while.
Maybe.
Oh, that's just because sometimes he just doesn't talk. He'll answer.
Maybe
he said something funny the other day in chat a minute ago about FF9.
It wasn't the question, Falafel.
It was like too much fantasy, not enough final. He's playing Phasma.
And
in
the next final.
Would you like to be a contestant in our Easter quiz? We do podcast quiz episodes. I don't know if you've seen any of them. We did a Christmas one and we did a Halloween one. Croesus, you were against... Who are you against?
Suits.
Were you against Suits? And then who was Zessel against?
Kane.
Kane, yes, Zessel and Kane. And we've had Crosis and Suits on the 2 quizzes so far. But also, you guys in chat also get to take part because the questions come up on screen and you have a four choice answer, multiple choice answer. So you gain points as you play the game along with us. And then at the end, I read out who has got the best score. So there are winners in both the contestants on screen, but also you guys in chat. It's a lot of fun. We have a good time. And yes, Cecil's saying Kane as well. I mean, we've had Kane before, and we will probably always be able to have Kane again. He's a big fan of taking part in these things.
Dupe is asking the right questions.
I think
real
Alpro
question,
wants to.
when is H-Bomb going to be a contestant? I mean, I can't. I'm the talking person. What's my name? What's my title?
The host.
The host. I'm the host.
I'm confused too. I don't know what
I'm
you
the
are
one
anymore.
that puts it together and asks the questions. If I'm going to be a contestant, someone else has got to bring it all together. The quiz master, yes, Paul, exactly. Guest host time. Alka Frolic, you're pointing to yourself. would you like to take part? It'd be very entertaining. Tomato would actually be a really good one. That's a very good point, Kale. Tomato would be a really good one for it. He seems to know all of the answers. The problem with that is I generally ask him to pull the quiz together with me, so he usually knows all of the answers to all the questions. Creates a bit of a problem. I would be a great contestant for anyone looking for an easy win. That is true, Alka Frolic. Unless we get you trained up now. We get you trained up now and we sit you down and make you play all of the Final Fantasies in the next month.
They're all on sale.
They're on sale. They're on sale on the Switch. Have a look. Okay, so yes, we're going to leave it there. We're going to say goodbye to... I probably could be... Oh, here's Falafel. I probably could be, but I need to play more Final Fantasy games. I don't know how I did so well other than not answering a lot of questions. Best thing, thinking up hard questions and giving them to H-Bomb. Yes. What, as in to make me answer them, or as in to send to me to then do in the quiz? See you guys live. It's thank you very much, Mary. Thank you for hanging out. And yes, everybody in chat, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for throwing the questions at us. We're just gonna let Croesus and Tama say their pieces, and then we're gonna be out for the night. I do very much appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate Croesus and Tama for joining me this evening. It's been great. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun hearing these two debate their Final Fantasy VII thoughts. And we also had some really good questions in chat, so thank you everybody for taking part. Now, Croesus, you are a streamer. Where can people find you and when?
At my house, but please don't come to my house. It's going to be really awkward. Plus, this is Texas. We have guns. Please don't come here. No, you guys can find me on YouTube at Croesus Gaming. You guys find me on Facebook at Croesus Gaming, and you can find me on Twitch at Croesus Gaming. I stream on all three simultaneously. I am currently playing Horizon Zero Dawn, but I will be playing Subnautica Below Zero soon when the new Pokemon Snap comes out. I'm going to be playing that because I'm super excited about that. There's a laundry list of games that I want to play, but right now I'm just playing Horizon Zero Dawn for the time being.
Who's is very excited about the Subnautica that you have just mentioned.
Oh, Below Zero? I want to play it so bad. The first one was amazing.
Yeah, that's how he feels. And Tama, do you have any messages to say? You're not a streamer, but you are actually a big part of Croesus's streams.
Yeah, I don't stream. I do stream off my PlayStation sometimes, but very sporadically, and usually just Overwatch with my best friend. Natasha will stream that. But yeah, you can mostly find me over on Croesus's channel. I'm mod over there, and I do stuff over there, the community streams. So yeah, you're more likely to find me over there than you are on my own stream.
Well, thank you both very much for taking part in today's podcast, and thank you everybody in chat. And we might as well just say bye, everybody. Thank you very much, and I will see you all in a month. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.